Greetings. Welcome back to Ministry Monday. I'm Carlton Coon, and I try to be with you every Monday. There have been some times this year when that simply has not been the way it's worked out. I'm talking with you right now about addressing destroyers that come within the church and make an impact on the people that you're trying to lead. And the destroyers from without a church, those things that come from outside, are much easier to deal with than the things that would destroy from within a church. Those are identifiable. We can call them sin. We can call them worldliness. But responding to the predators without is quite different than dealing with those within. The late Billy Cole made the observation dealing with a demonic spirit is much easier than dealing with an ugly old human spirit. We can see the wolves as they flit about. In the natural world, no sheep would ever challenge a wolf. The sheep's going to lose. But in our spiritual life, unfortunately, we humans have this inclination that we think that we can defeat the wolf. Well, you really can't. So what are these influences that we need to think about that destroy from within? Well, the writer talked about how that evil communication, that's the way the King James Version puts it, evil communication corrupts good manners. That word communication is translated there does not refer simply to language and communication between people. Instead, it is a reference to interaction with other people. Evil interaction is going to affect your manners if they're good. You're going to lose the good thing that's part of your life. Bad influences are what is being talked about, and bad influences result in good people doing bad things. They find themselves acting in a way that they would never have imagined that they would act. Now, that's within. That's what happens in the temptation within the body of Christ. That's the struggle that people deal with in life. And unfortunately, one bad apple will spoil a whole bunch. Paul warned the Corinthians about the leaven of immoral behavior, and they were tolerating things that Paul simply felt were unacceptable. And his concern for their tolerance of fornication was that it was like yeast in dough. That it wasn't just going to affect these couple of people, but it was going to expand its influence. Others were going to be affected. Others were going to be indoctrinated with those particular behaviors. It's the reason that within our church we have to address issues that are destructive, things that will become toxic within a congregation. And in the chapter where he talks about leaven, Paul talks about the leaven of fornication, the leaven of malice, and the leaven of wickedness. He warned them, don't be deceived. This is the Amplified translation. Evil companionship, associations or communions, corrupt and deprave good manners and morals and character. You see, negative influence is there. It comes from people. It will corrupt those who were doing good with their lives. You have to warn people about the dangers that they're in. There's also a perversive negativity in our world today. There's an unrighteousness that surrounds the flock of God. It flows from academia. It comes from the sports world. It comes from entertainment, media. Everywhere that you look, Christians are in the throes of being under attack. Christianity is the frog in the kettle. The heat's being turned up, and behavior that was always unacceptable is now being thought of as appropriate and right and good. And so it's a challenge to talk about this evil communication. It's insidious. It's there. It's part of the church. It's part of what's happening in our culture. And we're slowly, if we're not careful, if we don't really take hold of ourselves, we're being dumbed down to the point where that issues that need to be addressed in people's lives are simply not being thought about, and they're not being talked about because it's become a new norm. I'm sorry, but we've got to address those influences. In my next session with you, I'm going to talk about some of the steps that we take to deal with these influences. But it begins with our being aware, and then secondly, communicating to our congregation this awareness regarding these particular influences that will destroy their spiritual lives. Remember, my book just now, Light in a Dark Place, Encountering Depression, is available at a super discount. Every person in your church needs to read Light in a Dark Place. God bless. I'll see you next week.